No.
Explain, just for the people watching TV, what is an RFP, very in layman's terms?
RFP stands for Request for Proposal, and basically it includes standard solicitation language, procurement-related language, as well as a scope of services for the work that is being requested.
So in other words, you were preparing a scope of services for other people to bid upon, correct?
The city was. I was not. Diane Johnson was the individual who prepared the document.
Okay. At any time, did you procure any go-bys? In other words, other RFPs that had been used in the past?
Yes, that was the discussion that occurred on the Monday morning following the email, wherein we requested other governmental contracts because the city, up until that point, had never had a contract for program management services because the city had not had the dollars that the city had at that time. You know, again, the city had $15 million a year. They did.
What's the number you keep using? 50, you said, or
15?
15.
I mean, if you go back and look at the last several years' capital plans and go back 3-4 years, you'll see anywhere in the range of $10, $12, $15 million as an annual capital expenditure. So if you look at the recent ones, you'll see that it's markedly higher.
If I put a time and motion study together, it was about November of 2001 that we approved the Homeland Security Bond Project, correct?
That's correct.
And that went out for bonding when?
I believe a year later.
Okay, so about November 2002. Prior to this, the city had historically had about 15 million in projects, correct?
Annually, that's my understanding, yes.
And the first tranche of the Homeland Security Bond Project was $100 million?
$155
$150 million. $155?
$155.
$155 million. So this was easily 10 times more than the city had ever seen before.
That's
correct?
Correct.
Right. And you were hired in around September of 2003?
That's correct. The end of September.
Okay, so by the time you were hired, a little less, so about a year had gone by from the time they had allocated the money but had not used it, correct?
I believe about $3 million had been spent in the first year.
So $3 million of $155 million. And the city had a certain set time frame under IRS guidelines in which to spend that money, correct?
I didn't know that at the time. I found that out later.
Okay. So you were sort of under the gun, so to speak, to start procuring projects, correct?
Very much so.
All right. And then this is how you started with the HDR contracts?
Initially, what we did was piggybacked on other governmental contracts. We piggybacked on a job contract for construction with Miami Beach. We piggybacked on a DOT contract, a Miami Beach contract, and a State Department of Management Services contract for program management services. And what we asked the Commission at that time was to allow us to do the piggybacks to give us time to put out a city solicitation to go through a competitive process.
And is this the city solicitation that you're speaking about for the RFP for an HDR type facility?
For the program management services contract and the item that was before you today, yes, that's correct.
Okay. So when we use the word program management services to the layperson, what does that mean?
It basically means, and it's a common tool that other governmental entities use, Department of Transportation, Miami-Dade County, the Expressway Authority, Turnpike Enterprise, but basically you are hiring contract staff to do the same functions that city employees do. So you're not hiring them to design, you're not hiring them to build, but you're hiring them to serve as project managers, construction managers, program managers, and to perform the same functions side by side that city employees do. And a big part of the discussion initially about why we recommended that was twofold. One was the practicality of being able to double or quadruple the city staff in this competitive construction marketplace was questionable, and also adds long-term costs to the city as far as retirement benefits and everything else. The second was whether we even could, if we had wanted to hire those people, be able to find people to hire in a short time period.
So you dealt with a company named HDR. I take it that's a company you were familiar with?
Well, the three contracts that we piggybacked on HDR had the State Department of Management Services contract, Consultech had the DOT contract, and URS had the Miami Beach contract.
Okay. And inevitably, you create an RFP along with, was it Diane Johnson?
Diane Johnson headed the contract section in CIP at the time.
Okay. And she did this by procuring other older contracts that other people had used in various other agencies, correct?
That's correct. And you can see that in the emails that accompanied as attachments what I sent you last night.
I'll be honest with you, Ms. Conway, I did not get your full email. I've only been provided essentially your email itself, so I didn't get the attachments.
I can list them if you'd like me to. The documents that were sent to Diane from the 3 consultants, as well as from a gentleman who was a procurement specialist with Miami Beach. There's the Miami Beach RFP. There is a Seminole County RFP. There's another document that's titled MCSD. I'm not sure which agency that was. There was the existing Consultech contract with DOT, the Florida Turnpike General Consultant RFP.
Mary, on this email,
I think that's about it. District 7, which is also a Tampa district with DOT, a copy of their RFP.
Mary, if I may just a question. On the email to the commissioners and the mayor and the manager, you say that there was the manager informed you that there was a complaint filed against you and the procurement process and the Miami-Dade County Ethics Commission.
I don't know if it was against me, but it was a list of questions regarding the Program Management Services contract, and there were 2 questions that related to me directly.
And you also mentioned that that the manager had told the Miami Daily Business Review that your position in the city was to be determined, but as to last night, 9:43, you weren't sure because no one has reached out to you to tell you.
The manager stated I'm still an active employee.
Well, that was now, but I'm talking about the email yesterday, 9:43 p.m. You said that that unfortunately he shared with me that he has just spoken with the city manager who had advised him that my status with the city was to be determined. Unfortunately, the manager did not attempt to reach me or any other city staff of which I am aware to obtain information regarding Oscar's allegation. I'm just reading your email, and I guess that this is the whole thing, the back and forth, and the fact that someone sort of filed a complaint against the process. So I'm sure that you would understand why it's so important to go on the record and clarify, because after all, the city commission is voting on a whole lot amount of money.
Yes, I do.
For that.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I just ask just 3 more questions? I just want to get the last 3 questions out. And I apologize, but I think we'd all get done all at once, one at a time. There are 2 pending allegations I've heard against you.